Welcome, folks, to another edition. Today we're doing American Werewolf in London.
Not to be confused with American Werewolf in America.
Which nobody would confuse it with because there is no such movie. You'd think there would be one.
Not yet.
Maybe we can just say...
Maybe it's a sequel that we don't know if it's a Silver Bullet.
I guess technically any werewolf movie that took place in America is an American Werewolf in America, so...
But the name just doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah, they would get sued for copyright if they try to use that, so...
Yeah.
But there is an American Werewolf in Paris. It's almost like a remake, basically. It's just in Paris and new actors. And it doesn't continue the story from the first one. It might be worth watching just to compare that to this one.
Probably not going to care unless we actually do the podcast on it.
Hell no. Well, maybe. I don't know. Who knows? We'll do that after Repo Man, maybe. So, in the year 2027. So.
Oh, no. Repo's this year. At some point.
This year?
This year.
Damn.
At some point in time.
Somebody help me, please. Directed by John Landis. Now, the director said this is his favorite film that he's made, but this is the guy who's made Coming to America, Trading Places, Blues Brothers. He's made some great movies.
So he's really only made comedies.
And whatever Beverly Hills Cop 3 was. So by the way, they asked him in an interview, like, do you see this movie as a comedy? And he was like, no, this is not a comedy.
So this is what I'm kind of confused about. So John Landis has done, 3 Eddie Murphy movies?
Yeah.
How come he did not cast Eddie Murphy in this role?
This was actually before Eddie Murphy. So this is one of his first movies. After this movie, then the next thing was Trading Places, but that was right at the beginning of Eddie Murphy's career.
But here's also another question. How does this man not consider this comedy? This movie had me laughing.
Well, that's the thing. So basically, I think both of us were pretty familiar with the movie, but maybe hadn't seen it recently. And for me, I've realized that I maybe hadn't seen it at all.
I've never seen this until I watched it.
But it has such a reputation, and the reputation I always heard about was basically that it's like a horror movie with a lot of comedy in it. Or a comedy horror comedy.
No, this one definitely deals more horror, but there are some laughs to be shared with this movie.
And now we'll get into it, because we'll see how many of those laughs actually work. I think me and you may have differing opinions on that. Matter of fact, let's just go ahead and get into the movie. So,
Slaughtered Lamb.
Just to give some quick background, very quickly, and to temper where our expectations are, this does have a 7.5 on IMDb. Grossed $30 million on a $10 million budget. So
it's tripled the amount it made to make it. Yeah.
What's weird is that week by week, our budgets are going up, basically. We had $3 million for Nightmare on Elm Street 2. We had $10 million for this.
Fuck, I think we're going to have to do the new Mortal Kombat movie. That probably breaks all of them out of the water.
That's got to be at least $100 million.
And yet they made such a shit-ass movie.
Yeah, that'll be coming up pretty soon, guys, for sure.
When it comes on DVD, don't worry.
My question is, if we do that, do we have to do Annihilation also? I feel like we have to. We have to do the whole series then.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's going to be rough.
Yeah, well, do we really have to do Annihilation? Because technically this one's a remake to the first one, not to Annihilation.
This one's really not a remake, though. It's kind of a reboot, I guess.
Oh, yeah, but still.
Well, if we treat it like a series, then technically we have to do it. If we don't treat it like a series, we don't have to. No, we don't have to. I mean, like I said, there's no plans to do Tremors 2 through 9, so...
Yet.
There's no plans to do Tremors 2 through 9.
Yet.
Or, I mean, we may one day do the original Children of the Corn, but there's no plans to do parts 2 through 11.
See, I will agree.
We could do the first Saw movie without doing all 11 Saw movies.
Oh yeah, but I can agree to Children of the Corns 1, 2, and 3. I will not watch anything after that.
All right, so take what you said, right, and then let's subtract part 3 and part 2, and you get how many I want to watch.
Too bad.
Well, no, 2 is gone. Not bad. 2 gone.
Too bad.
2 of them are gone. Part 2 and 3 gone.
But 2 good. 2's actually pretty good.
No, I don't even know what you're saying. Part 1. Look, I don't know. And I'll never know.
I mean, part 2 is not a classic compared to part 1, but it is still a good movie.
Well, listen.
And part 3 is just a slasher.
I'm open-minded. I mean, you have
a gory slasher.
You have 6 Wrong Turn movies. You have 18 Children of the Corns. You know, I'm open-minded, you know.
Oh, so you want to do Wrong Turn instead?
I think that would be this podcast taking a wrong turn. Getting back to American Werewolf in London.
One note I would have to say, because what I do remember of this movie is, you know, you get a little bit, you get finally a good atmosphere with this place, especially just driving down the road. It's, almost night. And you get your two characters, David and Jack?
Yeah, and we open with the music, the song, I was talking about Blue Moon, it's playing in the background. Blue Moon! I'm never singing again, but that's the song playing, and yeah, you can tell by the scenery that clearly we're in Europe.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't help. I guess it doesn't help that the box, the title of the movie, says London.
Well, okay, let's say the movie started without you knowing the name of it, right? I could still tell that's Europe, because it reminds me when I was in Ireland, which I visited, it looked just like that. So immediately I'm thinking, wow, I accidentally put in a Leprechaun movie, our two characters about to get attacked by a Leprechaun. And I didn't get that, and I'm a little bit sad about that, because I think I might have more fun.
No, but they did get attacked by something.
Well, hold on, we'll get there. Now.
Oh yeah, we gotta get to the slaughtered lamb first.
Well, yeah, the slaughtered lamb, and also the fact that, hey, hitchhiking is still there. So.
Well, they kind of have no choice.
Yeah, they had to do what they had to do. So we meet our two friends, as you said. We have Jack and David. They're living the dream.
Talking about, and Jack's talking about a possible, it sounds like high school crush that they're supposed to meet somewhere in London.
Now, did you pick up on this? Because I thought he was talking about raping a girl.
It sounded like it, and that's honestly
because at one point he said she has no choice.
Yeah.
And that's not a good look. I feel like that would not really be, that line would be taken out today.
To be fair, in my opinion, I feel like Jack is the real main antagonist in this movie.
Well,
I mean, he's a questionable person. He actually caused them to get kicked out of the damn slaughtered lamb, which caused the werewolf attack.
Maybe. I feel like I want to believe in their friendship when the movie begins.
And the whole damn movie, who's telling him to kill himself.
Whoa. Wait a minute. First of all, I get that, but he had a good reason to do that, which we'll get to. But
his reason is to get what he wants, not what would be best for everyone else. That is a form of antagonism.
Yeah, but he's speaking for all of the undead, so it's putting the needs of a lot of people over just his friends'
Which
needs.
It makes me wonder. So
think about it. He's actually fighting for.
So it makes me. It begs the question. He states that, and it's actually a pretty neat lore to this, because now no other werewolf movie does this. But a person who is killed by the werewolf is then left undead in a state of purgatory
until the werewolf's bloodline
is diminished. So you're telling me that this person's bloodline, this werewolf's bloodline, has not killed a single person, only turned everybody? Because why is Jack the only one there until this guy starts killing people?
I don't know.
It would, unless of course, the werewolf himself has to do the killing, but then Jack would have already been released because the original werewolf that killed him dies in that same scene.
Yeah, it's interesting. They'd only... Well, one thing you said is spot on, though. It's like, no one's really used that story since then. And I wonder why not. That seems like good for werewolf lore. A lot of movies could use... I wonder... It's so funny. If another movie used that, would that basically be like almost like plagiarism, as far as like it's not werewolf lore, it's only specific to this movie and you can't use that in a different movie?
Yeah,
it's tricky.
It is.
Because people use zombie stereotypes over and over again in different movies. It's just understood that this is how zombies work. Mm. So this movie's like, is this establishing how werewolves work? Can you use that again? I wonder.
I would think so, but it's honestly an interesting concept, especially since this one, you are following the character that gets turned into the werewolf. You follow him, and that's again another thing werewolf movies don't do. You don't follow the actual werewolf. You only follow the person the werewolf is pretty much hunting.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
so that could be why we never see it in general.
All right, hold on. You're destroying my whole plot summary, though.
I don't care.
I can't go to the movie if you're like theorizing the entire movie.
But it makes me wonder.
I get it, but how
psychological thriller movies would be so amazing like this.
Well, yeah, I think every werewolf movie would be enhanced with this kind of set thing of like, okay, well, this is how you end the werewolf thing. This is what happens when the werewolf does things. But each werewolf movie kind of does its own thing. So yeah, it's not as connective as like zombie movies are.
No, because you get some werewolf movies that the werewolves are bipedal, others where they're quadpedal.
So they go to that pub,
Slaughtered Lamb, because they're hungry, and they ask for coffee, which she says no, and they ask for hot chocolate, no.
But tea, yes, she can make some tea.
So to be fair, he did ask, "Do you have anything hot?" And she goes, "No, but I can make some tea."
Which I assume is hot.
It would have to be.
So what the hell is she talking about? She can't make anything hot, but she can make hot tea.
Well, to be honest, I mean, have you ever had cold tea?
Yeah, it's called iced tea.
Exactly. You had to add ice to it, but it originally starts hot.
You don't think she has ice cubes? What are we even talking about? Anyways.
The fact she said she didn't have anything hot and she has tea.
I think she's making hot tea, though.
Shame. For shame.
Anyways, this pub is pretty weird, don't you think?
Well, what I think is funny is, everyone's having a fun time. These two walk in and all of a sudden it feels like they definitely should not be there.
This is a very insider place.
Oh, yeah, and they're all just staring at him and another guy misses his darts.
And he really takes that personal. He's like the dart champion of the world, apparently. He's never missed the board.
It's like, you made me miss. I was like, okay, Bullseye, you can calm down now.
So I was shocked to learn that they had showed up in Nilbog. This is clearly the town from Troll 2 that they're in. So I'm like, wow, this is a Troll 2 sequel. Okay,
no one is going to understand the reference,
What
man.
are you talking? Everybody's seen Troll 2. Nilbog.
I refuse to see Troll 2 again.
Well, you will. Don't worry. Yeah, but this is a weird bar, and you're right. They get all weird, and they basically kick him out.
And here's another thing. So,
and they got that weird story about Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like...
Well, it was because of John Wayne.
That seemed to drag on for like forever, though.
It did, but the real thing is, as the story is dragging on, Jack keeps looking at this star. And at first, it kind of looks like a pentagram, but here's the problem. It's not upside down, so it's not a pentagram.
Ah.
So I guess it's supposed to be a seal of protection. But, werewolves don't really need a seal of protection because they're not really classified as evil. They're just classified as survivalists.
Right. Interesting.
Because whenever they turn into a werewolf, they're hungry and they're seen as antagonists to humans, but at the same time, they're doing what they need to do to survive just like anybody else.
Right.
So a werewolf is not going to need that. No one's going to need that to protect themselves against a werewolf because a werewolf ain't going to give two shits.
Well,
werewolves aren't demons.
Didn't seem to apply here in this movie, though.
Well, another thing that doesn't seem to apply is apparently you don't need silver to kill werewolves.
One thing I'll say is, though, when they send them out the bar, it seems like they immediately all agree that they're sending them to their death. Like there's some inner turmoil there because the waitress is like, "You gotta get them," and the other one's like, "Nope, they were never here." And it's weird. It's like, why did they so aggressively send them out?
Fear. I mean, we don't really know why, especially finding out how easily werewolves are killed in this movie. It's like at this point, it's just a regular animal at that point.
They gave them 2 bits of advice, though, which is stay on the road.
And avoid the moors.
Yes.
Or was it moon?
Avoid the moon.
Oh, okay.
But how do you avoid the moon? It's in the sky. What kind of shitty advice is that? Avoid the moon. The moon's in the sky. Avoid it. What?
For some reason, I remember I could have sworn I heard more.
It might have been, but I could have sworn that I heard moon.
I mean...
Moon makes sense, though, because it's...
a werewolf. But moors could also make sense because maybe the werewolf doesn't want to go out onto a street where it can be killed by a moving truck.
Ah, okay. So let's go with moors. Now, the problem is, with that little bit of advice these guys got...
They just walk into the moors.
And these dummies get off. They're off the road. They don't stay on the road.
And then they get attacked, and Jack just gets mutilated while David decides to run for his life. Some friend.
Well, he really took off running. To his credit, about 7 miles down the road, he said, "Jack!" Turned around and came back.
So to be fair, David really should have just kept running.
Yeah.
I mean, the werewolf probably would have caught him, or he could have gotten to the folks before the werewolf got to him.
If you're going to come back for your friend, you might as well wait till he's done being mauled at this point because you already left him.
Right.
You came back at the worst time to where the werewolf can now destroy you too.
Yeah.
Luckily, though, the townspeople will come back and take out the werewolf.
Pew, 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 pew.
By the way, I did like the characters seemed pretty smart. Once they first heard the howling, they tried to go away from the noise, but then the noise would be in front of them, and then they turned and went and they ran at a certain point, but there was no way to outrun them. But they didn't seem like dumb characters at that point.
I mean, they
were stupid for
yes and no. I mean, to be fair, the first thing I would be asking the townsfolk in the bars, like,
where's the Domino's pizza at?
No.
Second thing you'd ask. Okay.
Where is the inn?
The Holiday Inn.
Yeah.
Do they have HBO?
I don't care about that.
These
I
guys
just
wanna
need a
watch-
safe place to
They want
sleep.
to watch Game of Thrones.
Hopefully not the final season. Maybe one of the first seasons
Well, that's true.
where Ross is still in it.
But I think I think their priorities when they go to the place is they want to get some food. They don't get that. So once they don't have that, then they're like, okay, we're going to walk to the next thing. But then when they hear the howling, they're like, let's go back to the thing. So, and none of it works out, though.
Oh, hell no. So now David just wakes up in London.
In the hospital.
Yes. After, 3 weeks?
Now...
Nice way to pass time just so we can get to the actual meat of the story.
Yeah, but you know what's ridiculous? From the opening there, we find basically that what the story given was that an escaped lunatic had killed his friend. Now,
Which could be true. We don't know who the werewolf exactly was.
this must have been, based on the amount of damage he was able to inflict on poor Jack, this must have been Tommy Jarvis from Friday the 13th Part 5. Because I can't think of another escaped lunatic that could do that much damage other than Tommy Jarvis. So that's what I was thinking. So that's my main suspect.
Michael Myers.
Oh yeah, I mean, you take the easy, obvious route. Mine took some thought.
I can't take the easy way out of what you're saying.
Michael Myers be doing in Europe, though?
Who knows? Jamie Lee Curtis was probably visiting. No, he would have went to Australia when she filmed Road Games.
Well, okay. Now we're getting in deep. I'm just saying, Tommy Jarvis got transferred over to the Europe branch of whatever place he was in Part 5. So,
Or they ran into Jeffrey Dahmer.
there you go. Okay, no, but in all seriousness, this idea that a human being could have done that to another human being,
It's pretty impossible.
this is ridiculous. That dude was like gored out of his mind,
And by the way,
out of his brain.
that nurse, not the main nurse we eventually get to know, the nurse that comes in, she a freak.
You think so?
Oh, kidding me? She literally came in and was just smiling at this guy. She goes, "Don't worry, I undressed you and gave you your new clothes."
It's very creepy the way you just did that. Folks at home, if you can't see this facial expression that Nick just gave while saying that, I'm like creeped out right now. So,
Yeah, I gave myself goosebumps.
but you did bring up the nurse that we do get to know.
Played by Jenny Acuter. I think that's how you say her name.
Very convenient for an attractive nurse to be there, and we're introduced also to the doctor as well.
Who also kind of plays actually a major role in this.
Yeah, because he actually does
takes
more-
an interest to the story of what's going on.
Yeah, he actually goes above and beyond his job to find the truth, man, the truth of the matter here.
Well, that's because the cops weren't going to do shit.
And probably just from, again, hearing it sounds like bullshit when someone says a lunatic did this, there seems to be more to this. And then, of course, David is pretty sure there was a monster and is telling them. So.
I think David even said it was a wolf.
Yeah, he calls it out. But
because the body of the werewolf actually reverted back to the human form, the townspeople can't say it was a wolf.
So I don't know how you feel. I don't know how you feel about this, but for me, this is part of the movie where the movie slows down to a standstill. Basically.
Oh, hell yeah. The movie does nothing until
Well, there's one thing that happens here. I'll say this.
the nurse falls in love with him.
Well, David has a very...
Jack.
Huh?
Yeah, that's right. David finds out Jack is undead. As spirit, as you will.
Yeah, and that's interesting. But even before then, I was going to say that David basically manipulates the situation into getting the nurse to fall in love with him. Because he tells the doctor, I'd rather not be by myself. I'd rather not be by myself. Good one, David. That's a really smart move because the doctor makes the nurse stay with him. And then they fall in love.
Nurse Birdie.
So, yes, now his dead friend shows up.
And pretty much gives us the entire plot. So,
basically, if you're a good friend, you'll kill yourself.
Yeah, so now that we get the entire plot to this movie, now we get our major standstill of nothing happening.
Yeah, well, he's in the hospital for a long time, it seems.
Yeah, and then he gets out, 2 days before the next full moon, has sex with Jenny.
He goes and stays with her, actually.
Yep. And then his dead friend comes back saying, dude, you got to hurry. Once that full moon hits, I can't help you.
And David is basically, he's at a place mentally where he's...
Doesn't care.
Well, he's kind of like, am I crazy a little bit or not?
Well, he kind of accepted that he's crazy. He's having fun with it, if you haven't noticed. Because, hell, so this is what I don't understand with this nurse. She is extremely trusting.
Extremely.
He literally tells her, I am a werewolf. And she doesn't even bat a fucking eye.
Nah.
So to be honest, during my first watch of this movie, because I've only watched this movie once, that was the Monday I got it, I honestly thought she was a werewolf.
You think so?
I thought so the entire movie. Because notice how whenever he tells her something, she didn't bat an eye. She tells him that my friend Jack just told me I'm a werewolf. She didn't bat an eye. She goes, a werewolf. Didn't even question it. And then she takes him back to the house with her.
Yeah, she's a bit... Basically, you're right. She doesn't have a strong reaction to anything, really.
And then, not only that, but she mentions how she's had so many other lovers, but she's...
7.
Yeah, 7 lovers, but she's pretty much looking for a mate.
Yeah.
What else would say mate other than another werewolf?
Ah.
So, again,
so basically, plot twist that don't end up happening at all.
Exactly, but it still would have been a decent twist, especially if they ended it differently.
So the doctor actually goes and investigates the creepy bar. And it's still creepy. It's so creepy.
Nobody's in there anymore.
It makes Nilbog look normal. That's how creepy this place is. So the doctor investigates, really finds nothing until he goes outside where he's told, yeah, the kid's in trouble. There's something going on here. Now... Of course, you want to talk about the transformation.
So this is probably one of the best transformations of any werewolf movie ever. And there's actually one thing I needed to point out. So in the transformation scene, you see how the spine protrudes out of the guy's back.
Yes.
Believe it or not, my wife looked into this movie.
She's seen a guy's spine protrude out of the back?
Just let me finish.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So she looked up about this movie because she wanted to learn more about it, and sure enough, she found reviews that says the effects are great, transformation is amazing, but the spine protruding out of the back, the way it does not make sense.
Not medically feasible.
Actually, that's not true. It is medically feasible because his body shape is completely changing.
Ah.
So that would also mean his skeletal structure would also change in the same sense.
Hey.
Which means that spine protruding out of his back, becoming pretty much a dog spine, would be medically possible if werewolves actually existed.
So the reviewer did no shit, basically.
Pretty much.
Okay. Well, that sounds pretty much on par with most reviews I read.
Exactly. But yeah, it was a great transformation scene. However, it was long and drawn out. It's like the director and the writers did not know how to throw in a few last minute details of this movie that they then decided to make this scene that should have really only been 2-3 minutes max.
Yep.
And turn it into almost a 6 to 7 minute scene.
It's gonna blow your mind too. This scene took 6 days to film. And the director said basically out of the 6 days, they ended up with a total of 30 minutes of footage. 6 days to film 30 minutes. And then they chopped down 30 minutes to what we saw. I agree. Once the transformation, it's almost like they fell in love with it so much that they kind of had to milk it for all it's worth. But it got a little bit over-milked.
Exactly. And then, so this is where we finally start getting the more horror aspect of this movie.
Because it's a werewolf, and werewolves, what they do is...
They eat people.
Obviously, they go make friends and hug people, but actually, you're right, they actually kill people.
I mean, they could make friends.
True.
He could have found a hot woman, taken a nice little nibble, and then she'd be a werewolf just like him.
There's some movies like that.
Exactly.
There's a Jack Nicholson werewolf movie called Wolf.
Exactly.
From the 90s. Him and Michelle Pfeiffer. So
exactly.
This didn't play out like that. This played out with him just going and killing people.
Exactly, because he's hungry.
What do you think about the death scenes? Because the death scenes are...
They're
off-screen or just very off-screen or just underwhelming?
Yeah, so you could definitely tell this entire movie's budget went to that one transformation scene.
Absolutely.
So because as you brought up, the only kill that's actually on screen is Jack's.
Yep.
Everything else is off screen.
They'll do like a slick cutaway that cuts to a phone ringing or like something else happening, but we sometimes see the body afterwards, but there's no actual kill shown.
Exactly. So we get the money shot without the actual, fun.
And the other thing too is like the werewolf is killing random people instead of established characters. We're getting throwaway characters.
Yeah. Which again, as you've mentioned in multiple podcasts, is your pet peeve.
It's lazy.
It's a pet peeve for me just for the fact that at least give us something.
It would take 5 minutes at the beginning to introduce some characters to kill later on.
Hell, or have him go to a place that he knows, which would be the hospital, and start mutilating people in the hospital.
Yes.
Like they could have killed off that redhead nurse that looked at him in a very creepy way, mentioning his penis.
Now, he ends up naked in the zoo.
Yeah, that actually had me laugh a little bit.
Well, okay, so he tries to bribe a kid for his balloons, and he offers him £2, and the kid rightly counters with, "Why would a thief offer me £2?" So, but the kid, still being slightly a dummy, still ends up getting his balloon stolen. But
for a good reason. I mean, that did help him run through London without getting in trouble.
So I disagree. For me, I see where they were trying to be funny here, but it didn't really land that well on me. It's kind of like took me out of the mood of the movie, basically, of how silly it was. But I can see where people would find that funny, but it just didn't land for me. He gets to a point, basically, where he's pretty sure he's the one doing the killings, and he tries to turn himself in. To no avail.
Yeah, because the cop is just literally like, dude, just go away from me. And what's bad is he, if someone comes up to you and says, yeah, I killed these people, it doesn't matter whether you believe them or not, you should still be arresting them.
Yes.
But this cop gets all mad because he's cursing. And finally the cop goes, if you keep cursing, I'm going to arrest you. It was like,
good.
And even David's like, dumb fuck, that's what I'm trying to do.
But ultimately, if he was in prison, he would just end up becoming a werewolf and killing everybody in prison. Right.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter.
So
he does call his family and talks to his family.
Well, it really is little sister.
Yeah. And good for that, because for me, David up until that point is still a little bit underdeveloped.
Yeah, but now David pretty much has got his farewells in order in a sense, because he had a feeling he was not going to survive this.
Yep. And so the other critical scene, I would say, is this movie theater scene, this porno theater scene.
Oh, right. So I just have to mention, my wife did ask this. Do they really have theaters that showed that kind of stuff? And I looked at it and went, yep. This is Europe. They probably still do.
Oh, they had them in America, too, at one point. 100%. Yeah, so this scene, the humor actually works for me in this scene. Because his friend, Jack...
is now a skeleton, by the way.
Oh, he's just deteriorating.
Yeah.
Which is maybe what I wanted to see more in Idle Hands, was a progression of the zombiness, basically. But now, to convince him to kill himself, he's brought all his zombie victims, back to convince them. And
the funny thing is, you do get two of them that's just so warm-hearted and happy. Even in death, they're like, "Oh, come on, it's fine. Use a gun; it'll hurt less." And I'm like, "Fuck."
Yeah, this scene is funny, but the humor and then seeing them all basically just being funny,
again, kind of takes away from
it lowers the stakes again.
Lowers the stakes and kind of takes away from the effect, the practical effects that's on these characters, on these actors. Like, you had so much time in that seat, and you now have to you have to be funny when you should honestly be doing more of a depressing tone for this scene.
I thought Jack said earlier that he was surrounded by, like, quiet, like, he felt like he was lonely because he was surrounded by quiet zombies who didn't talk. But these zombies could easily be Jack's friends. They're all talkative and stuff. So
yeah.
Also, so when we got the storyline basically about how they need David to kill himself in order to end the bloodline and all that, right? Taking that aside, I almost thought that Jack wanted him to kill himself so that he would provide him company in the afterlife or something.
See, that's
a
why,
route you could have gone down.
So this is why I still believe Jack is the main antagonist to David. Because technically, yes, David is the main villain of this movie. He's the werewolf. Or at least the werewolf side of him is. But since we follow him...
Involuntarily, yes.
But since we follow him, he is still classified by terminology as our protagonist.
Yes.
With the werewolf side of him being the antagonist.
Absolutely.
So, it definitely would be... If they would have done a full horror route instead of trying to add some humor to it, Jack could have been probably the biggest horror villains in this whole year of horror movies.
So the thing is so if David's our main character and we're cheering for him to survive and cheering for him to make it out of this, the fact that Jack is basically saying, hey, we need you to die for our souls to be the rest, right? What it does is that when David dies, we don't feel that bad because we're like, well, this had to happen to put the other souls to rest, basically.
Right, but
if you take that out, then there's higher stakes with David's story. This gives him an out to where he's too open to dying. He's like, okay, how should I do? How should I do it? When your maker's like, how should I kill myself? The stakes are low because his expectation is that he's going to die.
Yeah, but
so
now
why should we care?
Probably because now we get our climax scene where he kills 5, 6 other people.
The man's gone crazy.
Gone crazy. He's a werewolf again, and then they lock him in a alleyway where we finally see the main girl at night as not a werewolf.
Yes. You were expecting some kind of twist there.
I was expecting her to be a legitimate werewolf because technically the first night he does turn into a werewolf, we do see her as a normal human. But I brought up to my wife, because again, I was having high hopes that this could have been the ending, that she must be an old enough werewolf to be able to control her impulses. With him being new, he wouldn't be able to control Jack.
True.
So that's one other thing we never got of this lore. Can a werewolf, after so long of being one, could they be able to control their impulses?
Well, none of that gets explained or explored, so...
Nope. So instead what we get is...
She's just a nurse.
Yep. She's just a nurse.
A damn good nurse, but a nurse.
She's just a nurse. And
he's shot, killed, and dead.
Well, she doesn't die. He does.
No, he's shot, killed, dead.
Yep. After she tells him that she loves him. And another...
To be fair, he didn't kill her.
Well, to be fair... I honestly figured he was going to maybe get a scratch on her and she would eventually turn, which could have been a great, like a werewolf in London, but it would be like London werewolf in Paris.
Well, so interesting. During the making of the movie, at the ending, after they filmed it, the producer told John Landis, the director, the producer was like, hey, David at the end, he didn't get shot with, they didn't shoot him with silver bullets. So they were telling John Landis, listen, you can do a sequel. He's probably still alive because he didn't get shot with silver bullets. But John Landis was so adamant about no sequel, that nothing picked up. But he changed his tune in the late 90s. He explored doing a sequel, but it didn't work out. But at the time, he was adamant that there'd be no sequel.
So here's the only thing with the producer on that point. The first werewolf was not shot with silver bullets, and he did.
True.
So the producer's logic at this point goes out the window.
Well, the producer's job is to make money, so he was thinking sequel. Because he saw a $30 million gross on a $10 million budget. That means they tripled the money. He was trying to get a sequel out there. He was trying to do like Nightmare on Elm Street, get a part 2 out there. So he probably would tell John Lance anything to get the sequel made.
Yeah, well, I know.
But I feel like if there was a sequel, I don't think they would have continued with David's story. I think they would have transferred over to a new werewolf somehow.
Yeah, but to be honest, I still feel like they should have explored the werewolf gene more in this.
A good twist ending you could have had also is if you have him shot and killed, right? And you cut to a month down the line and he's like a talking corpse with Jack. And they're like, wait a minute, what does this mean? You could have done that too.
Oh yeah, they could have, but there's just so many things they could have done. But instead, the ending is so abrupt that I guess John Landis wanted people to question what happens next. Did the souls actually get released? Did he perhaps turn somebody during these 2 nights he was a werewolf?
I don't know, but you have this.
Did he potentially turn a girl? Because he did attack before he was shot.
You can only surmise that what we saw was the ending. He just got shot and killed, and that's the end of the story.
Yeah.
The movie ends so abruptly, but then you have that serious scene, but then it cuts like some seriously goofy comedic music over the credits, and the tone of the movie is all over the place because of that. Let's get to our categories. All right. Best scene, transformation.
Yeah.
Goes without saying.
Yep.
Worst scene.
The ending. It was so abrupt. And one thing I did not mention is, even though the transformation was amazing, the actual puppet of the wolf was shit.
Yeah.
That did not age well.
I'll go with the ending for the worst scene because you're right. No, I'm gonna say the closing credits worst scene because that damn music is so misplaced. It brings the whole thing down. Best character or performance?
Best performance. Honestly, I'm giving it to Jack.
Really?
Yeah. Because, maybe it's not the fact... Maybe I should give him worse. Because maybe it's not the fact he was supposed to be intimidating, but when you first see him and the way he's trying to manipulate David into actually killing himself, or try to talk to David into actually killing himself, it, to me, was like, this is the last thing I want to see.
Huh. I'm going to give best performance to the guy in the bar who is so mad about his darts being messed up, man. He's so pissed off that his dart didn't meet the board. I feel like there's a great subplot there that was unexplored. So I'm going to go with that. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to go with probably... I'll bite the bullet and say... I'll bite the bullet, not a silver bullet, but I'll bite the bullet and say that probably David gave the best performance, all things considered. He has the most to do in the movie, and I think he sells it well. I feel like his character was not super developed. You could have done more of that. But whatever. Worst character. Now this is tough.
This is, but I do have one. And it's not the entire time this person was on screen. It was just the one scene. And for me, that is Jenny Aguirre's character at the very end, because even though we're trying to have this heartfelt moment, I did not believe her for a second. But yet you kind of have. But the point of the scene is, if you don't believe her, then the scene dies because she already knows she can't reach him.
Yeah,
she just wants to get it out of her off her chest before he dies,
and she does that.
Yeah, but again, it feels so flat to me. Even the tears that comes down her face at the end, I don't believe it.
It's interesting to think that they could have formed a scene or a scenario where she had to be the one to kill him. That would have been powerful.
Yeah, it would have been. And
she could have said, "I love you," and then just shot him.
Exactly, and it would have, or maybe stabbed him.
Maybe literally, like she has a gun or something, and like he's going after a little kid or something. Force her hand to kill him.
Yeah, but still, it's just the ending scene with her. It could have been better, but I did not believe her for a second. So unfortunately, that has to be worst performance for me.
The worst performance for me is everybody in the damn bar. Everybody from the waitress to the dart guy to the guy telling that ridiculous Texas story. And this dude needs to go home and watch Walker, Texas Ranger or something. But yeah, that whole scene reminded me so much of Troll 2. I'm sorry. Let's see. Is there something I wish would have been explored more? For me, I would have taken another 5 minutes at the beginning to have more of David and Jack's friendship on display. That one conversation about Jack trying to rape the high school girl. First of all, I would take that whole thing out and give it a little bit more of first of all, a non-rape conversation, but then also just something of more substance to know their history and their friendships.
Or at the very least, make it where Jack is, where Jack's intentions are to sleep with a woman, but obviously not like how they did it in this one, where she's not going to have a choice. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, just something to better tell us what the rest of the movie is going to be, because I didn't know what was going on at the beginning of the movie. I literally thought the leprechaun might jump out and kill somebody.
So one thing I wish was explored more, and I know I've mentioned this probably 2 or 3 times, but to be honest, the werewolf gene.
Yeah, the background of werewolves, yeah.
Yeah, because, since I did mention the werewolf gene a lot, maybe the town itself.
Yes.
The town itself is actually pretty interesting. If the whole movie took place in that town, they probably would have done more of a medieval version of this story.
Yeah.
But still would have been a little bit more entertaining.
The movie actually, you could have easily done a nice prequel of this movie.
Oh yeah. But unfortunately we don't get that.
No, we don't. All right, final thoughts?
Characters were fine. The music direction was kind of off. Transformation scene was by far probably one of the best transformation scenes I've seen, best transformation scenes I've seen in a werewolf movie.
What about in Twilight, where the boy becomes a werewolf? No, you saw the movie; it's your favorite movie, so.
And the movie was shot well.
John Landis is a great director.
Yeah,
he went on to prove he's a great director.
Oh yeah, it's just. I just wish there was more to it. So I'm going to give this movie a 2.5 out of 4.
So this is going to be very controversial.
He's giving it a 0.
Not a 0. I mean, that would be very controversial.
Okay, fine. He's giving it.
But I have to say, maybe my expectations were too high. Because it does have a 7.5 on IMDb. It is always on every classic horror movie list. It's on top 10 list. It's definitely considered the best werewolf movie ever. I was just disappointed with everything. I felt like the characters were kind of flat. I felt like the middle of the movie is so slow to me, especially right before the transformation. Very slow. And then I don't know why everybody thinks it's a comedy. Like, for the most part, most of the comedy didn't land for me. I'd maybe one scene where I laughed, but most of the comedy, if it was intentional or not, didn't really land for me. And then, yeah, the ending was disappointing. There was just not... There wasn't any... They were going for, like, an emotional thing at the end, but I don't think it clicked. I don't know what it was. It just didn't click the way it happened. And then it ended so abruptly, and then you have this stupid music over the credits. But it's a well-made movie. Good direction. It actually, I mean, yeah, it was nominated for an Oscar for its makeup. So the makeup is considered to be classic. But these days, I really look at, like, the story a lot in the movies. So story-wise, it kind of let me down.
I'll look at the boobs.
Yeah. Well, that let me down too, so.
Because there were none.
So I'm going to preface. I'm going to say 2 stars, but I'm going to preface and say just my opinion, how I see it as 2 stars. But I can respect that most people will probably give this like 3 stars, honestly. I just don't agree. It's my personal opinion. I just feel like it's an average movie. And usually I have a strong bias towards older movies. But I'm going to go 2 stars. Maybe, to be fair, maybe I need to watch it again to... Maybe it'll grow on me over time as I watch it more. If I watch it more. But that's my initial reaction is 2 stars. It just didn't do it for me. I don't know. I don't think... To be fair also, I want to preface, I don't really like werewolves at all. They don't interest me. So... Yeah, I mean, if it's a cat movie, then I'm good, so...
Werecat.
Just not werewolves, so... I'll watch The Lion King over this. So.
Anyway, so everyone have a good night. And remember, the full moon only happens once. Just because the moon before and the moon after looks like it's full does not mean it is.
And when it does happen, stay on the road.
Yeah, and stay away from the moors.